Hi, my name is Agnes Fries, and I'm the creator of a tool called the Grid Designer. Grid Designer is a drawing tool for making craft color charts for crafts like crochet, knitting, latch hook, diamond painting, etc. And I want to let you know that the Grid Designer is a free tool. I have been a software developer for 30 years and am now retired, and Grid Designer is my retirement project, and it is absolutely free to use. You don't have to give me an email address. There's no login required. There will never be ads on the Grid Designer tool itself. You simply just go to the website and you start editing. You save it right there in your browser. Grid Designer is my gift to the crafting community, and I hope you enjoy using it. Now let's get started with this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can design granny square crochet projects using the Grid Designer. I'm starting here at freeze-works.com, and I'm just going to click on the Grid Designer tab to open it up. Okay, and let me show you the two designs that we're going to work on. Okay, so this first one here is just a granny square pillow top, and that's just one single granny square. And the other one here is a granny square afghan with multiple granny squares. Now, okay, let's start here. So we're going to start with project, new project. We're going to pick granny square crochet. Okay, and now before I fill in this information here, I'm going to show you a short video about how to measure the size of your granny square like in inches, and so that we can put it into the Grid Designer. Here I have a granny square that I've worked. This particular one is worked in a Red Heart Super Saver with an eye size hook. And I just want to show you how this maps to the Grid Designer grid. So each cell or each space on the grid is going to correspond to either a hole or a group of 3 double crochets. So each one of these things is like a block on the grid. So if we count the size of this particular granny square, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is going to show up as 7 by 7 on Grid Designer, where each hole and each group of 3 double crochets is a block on the grid. So when I put this in, my crochet gauge is going to be for a 7 by 7 thing. And when I measure this, this comes out to be about 4 3/4 inches. So that's the gauge I'm going to be putting in when I'm using Red Heart Super Saver. Okay, so what we're doing is we're counting around the outside of the granny square. We're counting the number of blocks and holes per so many inches. Okay, so in that video we had 7 blocks and holes along the edge per 4 3/4, which is 0.75 inches. Okay. And let's see, we've got, I did that with, by the way, it's a size I hook and a Red Heart Super Saver worsted weight yarn. So that's how it came out for me. So down here, we're going to look at the number of rows and columns that we would want to put in our grid. I'm going to make a pillow top that is I want it to be around 12 inches. So I'm going to go down. This is 13.5 here. So that's 12.8, 18, 17. Now it turns out that if you make a regular granny square and you count the blocks and holes on the edge, you always end up with an odd number. So we're either going to have 17 or 19 or 15 or whatever. We won't have 18 unless we do, well, if we do a round, then we still say, let's see, we're always adding 2 to the size. So we always have to have an odd number. So 17 is going to be 11.5 inches, and then if we put a 12-inch pillow form in it, that'll be stretch it a little bit, and that's probably going to be pretty good. So let's go down here, and we want this to also be 17. So we're going to have 17 by 17 and 11.5 inches or so. And we'll fill it with a 12-inch pillow form. So let's go down here and I want to pick Red Heart. Where's Red Heart? Red Heart. Super Save or Worsted. Okay. And then we're going to say Create Project. Okay. Now, oh, I don't want to save it just yet, so we'll just close that. Okay. So now the background in the Granny Square project is always going to be where the holes are. So I tend to put black in there or dark gray or something like that because the holes generally look a little shadowed and a little dark. It will depend though if you're making a pillow, it might depend on what color cloth you're going to put, inside the crochet. Because you may want to make a case for the whatever pillow form you get or whatever. It depends on how the pillow form is made. But you may want to make it a different color, but I'm going to make mine black. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to select black. And then to clear all of this out, I'm going to click this button down here which says clear all. Okay. And it wants a confirmation just in case it doesn't want to erase anything that you have. So it's going to just fill that all in with black. So that you set that background color to what you want and then you click the clear all and that will do that. You can also do it with the fill bucket, and fill the whole thing in with the color that you want for the background and then set your background to that. Okay, so now the granny square forms are in the pattern library down here. So I'm going to click on the library. And we type in Granny. I've already typed it in before, so it's in my list. And then we have all our Granny squares here. Okay. We need one that ends up with 17 by 17. So this one is going to do 8 rounds, and that will end up as 17 on each side. So here we go. So, and then it has, down here, it has a list of colors. It has 8 of them, one for each round. You can make, multiple rounds the same color if you want to, but they start out with each one having a separate color to be set. This one down at the bottom is the center of the granny square, and the one up at the top is the edge of the granny square. So you can start either place. I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to do these shades of blue. So I'm going to pick light blue in the center, and then it puts it in there. Then I'm going to pick kind of a medium blue here. And then we're going to pick royal blue, I think is what I picked. Royal blue there. Okay. Then we're going to start over again, and I'm going to do now 2 rounds of the light blue. Like that. And then 2 rounds of the medium blue. Okay. And 1 of the dark royal blue. There it is. Okay. Once we get all of these filled in, basically we have to do for each color that's in the pattern, we have to pick a color that's in our palette so we can fill in the whole pattern with the colors from our palette. So now we've got our shades of blue in here. I'm going to say use pattern. Now this pattern is exactly the same size as our entire grid. You can see these little yellow lines on the outside. That means that this is really a floating paste item. It's not on the grid yet. And we have our paste items down here. And we need to either use the stamp tool or the apply. I'm just going to do apply, and that applies that to the grid. Okay. And let's make it a little bit smaller so I can just kind of take a look at it. Like if it was sitting on the couch, what would it look like? That's what, there it is. So, and I like that. Now, another way you can play with the granny square design is to go into the substitute colors tool. So go up here, substitute colors. And in here you can select a color. Say I put my mouse over black. Say I don't like the black background, maybe I do want to see what it looks like if it was white. So I click black, and that'll take me to the black one color down here. This is basically just a list of colors that are in the in the design. And so we're going to take black and let's substitute white for it. Okay, so we get quite a different look there, And you could play with it in here too. Maybe that light blue, maybe that should become a dark blue, like navy or something like that. And that might look better over a white background. Okay. Then you could convert it like that. You can undo it. You can do it again. You know, you can go back in here if you don't like that. Once you see it out here, then you could go back in there and do some substitutions and, you know, whatever you want to do. So that's another way you can play with the granny squares. That's an easier way to change the colors in around rather than to try and click. You can do that too. You could just take the color tool here and click on the colors, but you can substitute easily in here one entire color for another color. So that's probably an easier way to edit the granny square, you know, once you get it put together. Okay, now let's do a different project. We're going to do like an afghan like this. Okay, so let's go over to here. First, we'd save this, I guess. Let's save it. Say my pillow, my granny pillow. Okay, and then we'll say save project. Okay, now let's start another one. So I'm going to just start a new project from here. That will already have our granny square crochet thing set and our sizing information here. And it will have the old number of rows and columns. But now we're going to make something larger. So let's type in like 50 and see how that is. That's like 33 inches. So let's say, what if we got it up to about 36 inches or so? And over here, that's too much. Well, over here, why don't we get it to, oh, I don't know, maybe like 50 inches, something like that. Okay, so we'll just do that. Okay, then we'll just say create project. Okay, and I'm not going to save it just yet. That will create the project with whatever the background color was here. So this time we don't have to change it. If you're doing it as a, you know, as a new project where you just started out with a little red default project, then you would pick the black or whatever color you want for the background, and then go down here and pick clear all. Okay, or you can use the bucket fill here with like a right click for this and a left click. If you set the black over here, you could set it, you could do a left click with a bucket. Okay, so that's how you clear out the background. Okay, now we're going to go into our library, and this time we're going to do granny squares that are 3 rounds, which are 7 by 7 by 7. So on the edges, it's going to be 7 by 7. So I'm going to pick that one. Okay, so now we have just 3 rounds. This is the center, that's the middle, and that's the edge. So I'm going to do something bright here. We're going to do some yellow, and then we'll do some red down here, and then we're going to do some orange like there, and we'll say use pattern. Okay, so that gives us a paste item. Now this is what we had in the first one, except it covered the entire project. You can see that little dashed yellow line on the outside. That indicates it's a paste item. And in the other one, we couldn't move it around because it filled the entire screen. And so all we had to do was go down and apply it once, and then our project was filled with that one granny square. But this one, we would want to take and stamp it probably across our project like this, or wherever we want to put it. But I'm going to make a modification to this, and this would work too, and then you could put your granny squares together just like that. But this doesn't show you, you know, that little bit of edging, the orange that would be here in the corner, the chain stitch, you know, between each of these. So you miss a little bit of color there when we do it that way. And also, I don't like the way it looks too much when I join them that way and there's a gap in the corner and such and such. So I like to put a round of single crochet or double crochet around the whole granny square. So I do it like that usually. So let's undo this. Okay, and let's take this and put it up here. And let's leave one space all the way around it. And I'm going to just stamp it there once. We'll apply it once. And now I'm going to take red. Let's do it. One nice thing you can do here is you can, when you pull the palette down, you can say show used, and it will only show you the colors that are in the project so far. And this, we only need these 4 colors. So I'm going to take red and my line tool, and I'm just going to draw a border around this whole thing. Okay. And that would represent, you know, a row of double crochet. Single crochet would be a little smaller than that, but because each square on here is now representing a group of 3 double crochet. So this is 3 double crochet, so its height is going to be the length of a double crochet, and its width is 3 double crochets across. So this is as if we had double crocheted all the way around our granny square like that. Okay. And now I'm going to use that as my block instead of the original one that came out of the library. So I'm going to just use the selection tool. I'll go and draw that around it. And then I come down here and I say copy. And then I say paste. And paste gives me that little paste item like that, like we had with the yellow line around it. So I can move that around and stamp it at places. So the difference here is stamp lets you stamp a copy of it and then gives you another copy to keep going. And this apply applies it only once. So in this case, we want to stamp it in a lot of places. If you get them lined up, you know, in some order or something a couple of times, then you can continue to stamp across like that. So I'm going to start up here at the top again. You have to do this just twice here, and then you can stamp across the whole thing. So I'm going to just do that again. Okay. Oh, well, didn't mean to do that. But if you come back out like that, you can get your paste item back by clicking on the paste again. So now I've got it back. So I did that by accident. So I can just get it back just by clicking on the paste item. So let's do this. And then we have a few to fill in here. And one, there's nothing else over here. Okay, so let's come out of here. Okay, now I'm going to look at the size of this because maybe I do want to make it, I could make it another one longer. It's 50, so it's 51 inches about this way and 36 inches across. So I'm thinking 36. Let's make it a little bit wider, I think. This happened to work out just perfectly, but if you need to delete, generally you need to delete or add some rows on either side. So I'm going to add a few over here. Now we do that down here. This is, let me show you this real quick. This is called add and delete rows or columns. So you pick it up, you decide whether you need to do rows or columns, and I'm going to add some columns on here. So we're going to pick columns. Okay. Then we're going to say add, and then you add them either to the right or the left of whatever you select. So I'm going to say to the right and say OK. Now I get a different cursor here, and I can select some rows here, and then it will add that many rows onto the side. Okay, my paste item is still sitting here. It's still here. Sometimes if you do some different pastes and things, you can lose the last one that you did, but it's still there for now. So let's just paste that down the side there. Okay. And then I added a few too many columns there. So let's go into columns, delete, say OK. And then we just have to select these columns and then they go bye-bye. Okay. So now we got that. Now we need another granny square to fill in this other area here. So let's go back into our library. We still have the seven-sided one here with the 3 rounds. And let's just flip, instead of having yellow and orange, let's have orange and then yellow. So I'm going to do orange here and then red in the middle still, and then yellow on the outside. Okay. All right, now I'm going to put that right in the middle of one of those squares. And then I'm going to decide what color I want to put around it. So let me get the line tool and let's try red. Okay, so that's a possibility. And if I do it that way, then when I stitch the squares together, I can use red thread, red yarn to do that, and the yarn won't show no matter what if I just whip stitch it together, it'll be okay. But let's try doing it with orange. So, okay, so we're doing it with orange. Now, if I do that, I'll have to use a hidden method there's a way to hide the thread in the stitches so that you can put this together with either color thread and it'll look, and the thread won't show. So I like that better. I think I'm going to like that better. So let's just go ahead and pick this. And then we will say copy and paste. And now we get our other granny square here that we can stamp. Go stamp, 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 stamp. Okay. And we'll go stamp, 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 stamp. And then we just need to fill the rest of this in. Okay, and one last one in the corner there. Okay, great. Let's let's come out of here. The X will get you out of here. Okay, and get rid of that last item there. Let's make it a little smaller so I can see it better. Okay, I like that. I think that's going to work out well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a border around it just to see what some different colors look like, on the outside of it. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use this tool in here under display called grid size. I'm going to basically increase the grid so that there's one extra row and column all the way around. And when it adds that row and column all the way around it, it's going to fill it with this background color. I'm going to pick show used here, and it's going to fill it with whatever this background color is. And I think that the first round around it, I'm going to make yellow. So let's go into here, grid size. We need to add 2 rows, one for top and bottom, 2 columns, one for left and right, and then we want to add them, we want to split them top and bottom, and we must split them left and right. So we add 2, and it's going to go 1 all the way around here. So then we say save, and we get yellow all the way around here. Now let's add an orange edge in exactly the same way. So I'm going to add 2, 2, and we'll split them top and bottom, split them left and right, so we have 1 all the way around, and say save changes. Now we've got an orange there. Now we need a little red to kind of balance it out. So let's go and pick red for the background color. Then we go and say grid size, 2 here, 2 here, split them top and bottom, split them left and right, so we have +1 on every side. And now it filled it in with the background color red. So now we have a red border around there. Let's make it a little smaller so I can look at it. Okay, and we're basically done, So So the way that this would be worked is you would simply make each granny square. You'd need to count the number of each, type that you need and make that many granny squares with the double crochet around the outside, or you can do single crochet or something like that, or whatever you want to do. And you can then, and then around that, once you get them all put together, you would stitch them all together and then do like some double crochet or single crochet. So these blocks are sized for double crochet. So if you did single crochet, these lines would be a little thinner in the final version. So anyway, so that's that project. So let's just save that. We'll call it My Granny Afghan. Okay. All right. And so basically, that's how you work with granny squares. If you're going to make something large, give yourself a large space to work with. Pull up the granny squares in the size that you want. Put the colors in that you want, and then you can stamp them around and see what it looks like and all of that. So okay, so I think that's about it. Thank you for watching and happy designing. Bye bye.